So it's official. The death rate for the coronavirus second wave is 0.03% to 0.01%, somewhere between those numbers. How do I know this? Well, Patrick Vallance and Chris Whitty told me this yesterday. In fact, they told everyone this yesterday. But this seems to be something that is being ignored on the Great Part. Okay, I've seen very few people talking about this, so I just wanted to present to you those numbers that they presented to us yesterday and analyse them in a very quick and simple way. Okay, I'm garbling. I've got no notes or anything around, so this is winging it. I know this isn't a very professional way of doing things, but let's become very professional right now. I'm going to use Dr. Vernon Coleman's technology of pen and paper to try and break down the numbers. So Patrick Vallance told us yesterday that we're currently facing around about 6,000 new infections per day. Okay, this is based upon last week. The number was around about 3,000 to 4,000 new cases per day. And then he said that this number will double. He said it's not a prediction, but it was a prediction. It was a model, but not a model. I'm not entirely sure he was very sure really where these numbers are coming from, but let's go with them because it's quite important. These are the numbers that were presented to the British public. So we're going to start. I've written down basically we've got the cases per day between now and the 16th of November, the middle of November, so that's 8 weeks from yesterday, because yesterday lives behind your left shoulder, doesn't it? And then look, I've got the starting point, and then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks, and then the number of cases. So Patrick Vallance said that we're starting at 6,000, and that's going to double 12, 24, 48, and so on and so on and so on. And then he had the case, the new daily case rate at the start of November. He said 800,000 new cases per day. But actually, if you follow his doubling method, 8 weeks is just over 1.5 million new cases per day. Okay, so and we can use these numbers to work out the average new cases per day in this time period. Okay, it's grab a calculator. It's quite straightforward. And anyway, and then he also presented with us the very frightening prospect of 200 deaths per day in the same time period. Now, bearing in mind that a new case doesn't automatically correlate with the amount of deaths, as there's probably a slight time delay between becoming ill and unfortunately passing from this terrible virus. Okay, but we can use it as an illustration. His numbers were 800,000 by the middle of November, but actually if we follow his model, it's over 1.5 million. So the numbers probably are going to be tallying up just about. I mean, I'm not entirely sure how long it takes for someone to unfortunately die from or with this virus. But taking those numbers at face value, as Patrick Vallance presented to us yesterday, a number of 800,000 cases to 200 deaths is a death rate of 0.03%. But let's look at his numbers. So we'll work backwards from the deaths because he didn't give us an actual starting point. He was saying that by the middle of November, so this is the same time period, we have 200 deaths per day, and then we'll work that backwards using his doubling method, and we get back to the present day where we are under 1 death per day, which is probably about right. There was a blip last week where 18 deaths were recorded in, I believe, Manchester. But up until that, there have been time periods where there hadn't been any deaths per day, so we less than 1 per day, and then doubling this all the way up to 200 deaths per day in the same time period as the cases. Okay, so we can take the average of that and work out how many deaths per day in the same time period and get a total. And these totals, come Mr. Coleman, don't fail me now. The total cases by the 16th of November will be approximately 19,040,000, and the number of deaths will be 2,795. Notwithstanding that, as I've already mentioned, the deaths come slightly after the infections, but we can use this to approximate a death rate to infection, okay? And using these numbers here that were presented to us by Patrick Vallance yesterday, then the death rate for the second wave is going to be 0.01%. So we could say, let's be fair, somewhere between 0.03 and 0.01% death rate. Now, both gentlemen were quite keen to tell us that the coronavirus is no less deadly than it was back in March and April. But yesterday they presented figures that showed that the death rate is significantly lower than even regular seasonal flu. So either they made a mistake yesterday, or they made a mistake in March, or maybe the numbers are just plucked out of thin air. I'm not entirely sure. He did tell us that it wasn't a prediction by predicting. Perhaps that's all we need to take away from it. But the point is that they have told us that the death rate is somewhere between 0.01 and 0.03. Do with that information as you will. I hope it helps. Any comments, please drop them down below, and I'll talk to you soon. Lots of love. Bye for now. Bye.